That's fine.
Hi everyone, I'm Councillor Colleen Gates, Mayor of Hobsons Bay, and today I'm joined by Augustin Kadende, who's our Young Citizen of the Year for 2020. Hi Augustin, how are you going?
Hey Colleen, how are you? I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So thanks for catching up with me today. It's really appreciated.
Pleasure.
How are you? You're in the middle of studying at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm just trying to get through these couple of assignments that I have for uni. Apart from that, I'm doing all right, as good as you can be in this time.
Well, that's great. And how's things been with the pandemic, I guess, and having to stay home? How's that been affecting you?
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's an unprecedented time. You know, a couple of months ago, you wouldn't have imagined that offering a hug or a handshake will no longer be the polite way to greet someone. Yeah, they're definitely just trying to keep my distance, my physical distance from my friends. Even when you see them in a grocery store, you know, crossing the street, you see someone else. You know, the most polite thing, the most considerate things you can do now is to try and move to the other side. But yeah, apart from that, it's been alright. It's been good.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of new variations of handshakes coming out. You know, elbow touching and kicking toes together and things like that. It's yeah, been quite an interesting time for everybody.
Yeah.
I imagine your routine's probably changed a fair bit as well.
Yeah, 100%. It was extremely difficult at first, not gonna lie. At first it was definitely hard because, you know, I used to like working out and going to the gym. So losing the gym and the local basketball courts just down there in Brooklyn, you know, the soccer season being postponed and uni moving online, so you can't really like interact with new people, especially just starting my first year. It was definitely difficult at first, but you also understand, you know, why such measures were put into place. So you can't really complain. So I've really had to adapt my routine from the way I exercise to the way I study. And my mother has always told me that it's through adversity that we're able to grow. So, you know, I don't have to like restrictions that we have, and, you know, no one has to enjoy self-isolating, but you have to believe in it and the role it plays in keeping us safe. And using that storm of energy into a true source of strength. And I always believe that it's the learning that comes from the adversity that creates the biggest opportunity for growth. And that's what I've been trying to approach this whole situation with.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we've all been learning to adapt, you know, and we've been forced to adapt very quickly and think of new ways to do things. So there'll be some positive that comes out of this at the other end, I think. I guess probably another significant component of the effects of coronavirus is around the mental health of some people who probably do struggle with that lack of more social interaction. What are you seeing or experiencing amongst, say, your colleagues and, you know, younger people around how they're managing or dealing with mental health?
So I can see that it's clearly hard, especially at the start. It was definitely difficult for them, and that's very understandable. Like, you can understand why that's happening. You know, young people are rapidly adjusting to learning and socializing remotely. You know, spending more time with the family and sacrificing comfort and convenience for the greater good. So it's definitely must be hard for them. And from what I've seen, you know, young people's days have sort of blurred into Google Classroom assignments, hobby seeking, you know, searching aimlessly on Netflix, and on exceptionally boring days, you know, the often, you know, existential contemplation. And I think that the dichotomy of freedom and from school, and yet the sort of mixed feelings of helplessness and loneliness have sort of plagued their time at home, because a lot of young people love to interact, like you said, like, love to interact with other people and love to, you know, be around their friends and joke around, and being at home alone, that must be very difficult for them. I had a friend of mine tell me that schoolwork seems increasingly pointless at this point, because a lot of the exams and the assignments have been postponed or cancelled. So even learning now becomes sort of like a challenge for them.
Right.
Yeah, so this I feel like this period and this situation will, inevitably affect young people's mental health, because as you can imagine, young people, love to be challenged, and love to push forward and push the boundaries, and with no ostensible end in sight, or not at least, before the restrictions were lifted, it's must be truly hard for them.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I could understand. And people are used to being outdoors more often. They probably don't even really appreciate how little amount of time they spend inside or at home until that's taken away from you. So yeah, it's been a very challenging time. If I guess if you had any, a message that you wanted to send out to people who might watch this on social media, have you got a message for people and how they can kind of keep their chin up during this time?
I guess the main thing to remember is that if you don't feel up to anything, that's okay too. Because like we've said, it's such an unprecedented time. Like you could not have imagined this a couple of years ago, or even a couple of months ago, in the start of the year, you could not imagine this. And this isn't, and we're all trying to cope with this as best as we can. And being kind to yourself and to other people, I think is the most important thing right now. And everyone is different and will have different ways, and different things to help them get through this. But I think it's important to also remember that we're here as a community. We're here together. We work not just for ourselves, but we work for each other, to overcome this. And so if you find yourself struggling at any point, because we all are going to struggle at some point, because our routines have all changed. So if you found yourself struggling at any point, there are so many support services available to you. So just don't feel any sort of way, reach out. Someone is going to be there for you, and because we're in this together.
People don't need to feel like they have to battle it out on their own. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, certainly I think a lot of the support that we're seeing, people collecting food donations and reaching out for each other on a range of different levels has just been amazing. So thank you very much for your words of support as well. It's really appreciated, and thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.